we're back with you. Are there any questions, any issues, or anything that's unclear regarding the tests, assignments, or the grade center? I'm here for you. Also, if there are any students, there are certain things I really don't like to explain too much or at all when it comes to the grade center for a reason, because it can confuse the members. I'm providing the basic skills in the grade center. These are fundamental things in the grade center. For example, let me give you another example. And I hope you don't mind if I mention it casually, as it's not something you encounter often or deal with a lot, which is creating a column and creating a calculated column, because it can create confusion. For the members, I'm providing the basic skills in the grade center. These are fundamental things in the grade center. For example, let me give you another example, and I hope you don't mind if I mention it casually, as it's not something you encounter often or deal with a lot. This is about creating a column and creating a calculated column, which is create a column and create a calculated column. Creating a column and creating a calculated column, let me give you a simple case or scenario that some of you might be using. That is, if you can come and do a test, for example, I gave the students a midterm exam, some took it, others didn't, and some scored well. I will create a replacement exam, some took the replacement, others didn't. There were valid excuses and health issues. A third exam was created. Students took multiple exams, one scored 5, 6, and 7. Only one grade should be added to the total. I'll choose this column, but some students are present and some are not. I'll choose this column, but again, some students are present and some are not. Some students took the midterm and replacement exams. Some participated, others didn't. There were valid excuses, health issues, etc. A third column was created for another exam. Some students took multiple exams. For instance, a student scored 5, 6, and 7 in different exams. These 3 grades will be added to the total, which is wrong. Only 1 grade should be added. You might choose a column, but some students are missing. Choosing another column. Some students are still missing. We choose the third column if available, otherwise find another solution. One student scored 5, another scored 6, and another scored 7. I want to clarify that these 3 grades will be added to the total. They will be added to the total, and that's wrong. Only one of those grades should be added to the total. So you might say, okay, I'll choose this column. But in this column, some students are present and some are not. Or you might choose this column. But again, some students are present and some are not. So we choose the third column if it's available, and if not, we have to find another solution. So there's confusion. So the solution here is that it's better to create a fourth column. Keep in mind, solution, God help us, but the matter is clear. You will create a fourth column. This column will compare the values in the 3 columns, and you tell him, give me the highest value and put it here. Put the highest value of the 3 here. This is the first step you should take. So how do you create this fourth column? You come and do something called creating a calculated column. What does that mean? When you come here and say, create a calculated column for me, you will notice what it brought, the minimum column, the shortest one. What does that mean? It means I can tell it that I want the maximum value among 3 columns and specify those 3 columns. I had 3 columns and I want to create the fourth column. This fourth column will be the maximum value, and I'll tell it to get the maximum. I select in this column in the settings and say, get the maximum between this first column, the second one, and this third one. It will give me the maximum value. All right, maximum and the, okay. Is the problem still solved? No, there is still something that needs to be done. Even though you created this fourth column and took the maximum value, these 3 columns are still being added to the total in the grading center. So I need to go into the total in the grading center here, the total, and tell it to come here for me to edit the column information. And now you all come here to the total. Do you see these columns, everyone? These are the columns. I tell him, these are all the columns that contribute to the total. I tell him no. Do you see what I should tell him? What should I tell him? Take me all the columns except for the 3 columns, this one and this one. Except for these, because I don't want to add them to the total. The fourth column, the maximum value column, will be added to the total. I'm not sure if this part is clear to you or if you don't need it. If you don't need it, it's not important to me. The grading center has many details and aspects. I'm explaining simple things you can handle without issues. For complicated matters, contact us for technical support, and we will solve them for you. I gave an example. To get an average column, create one, and specify the columns for calculation. Dr. Khalaf asks if optional assignments for students can be created through discussions and how monitoring would work. I'm explaining to you the simple things you can handle easily. If there are complicated matters like this, you can contact us for technical support and we will solve them for you right away. But if you want to create an average column, just specify it to calculate the average. You must specify the columns based on which it will calculate that average. Dr. Khalaf asks if optional assignments can be created through discussions and how to monitor them. Yes, you can create discussions. You mean forums, right? Forums, an average column, and you tell it, get me the average. But when you tell it to get the average, you must specify the columns. You need to specify the columns based on which it will calculate that average. As for the grading center, Dr. Khalaf is asking if it's possible to create optional assignments for students through discussions and how the monitoring mechanism for that would work. Yes, you can create discussions. You mean forums, right? All right, regarding the forums or discussions, we will look at that together now. But let me just ask you a question. When you create the discussion, it gives you the option. Do you want to discussions? Yes, you can have discussions. Do you mean forums? Okay, as for the forums or discussions, we will see them together now, but I will ask you a question when you do the discussion. Does it give you the choice? Do you want to assign a grade or not? Have a discussion without grades. It won't be added to the grading center. If you want grades, students will be assessed and grades added to the grading center. The grading center contains anything, assigned a grade. When you create an assignment, test, or forum with a grade, a column appears in the grading center. If you don't assign a grade, no column appears. Create activities without grades for interaction, no column shows up. When you create an assignment and specify a grade, like 5 or 4 points, you will find a column in the grading center named after the activity. But if you say, no, I don't want to assign a grade, then you won't see a column in the grading center. In this case, if I'm doing this activity or forum for student interaction without a grade, there won't be a column in the grading center. So the question is about discussions. Yes, we can create them. I'm creating this activity without a grade so students can engage. Now about discussions. Creating them with grading means grades. Grades will be added here. Dr. Khalaf, should we explain creating forums? The question now is through discussions. Yes, we can create them now. But here, when we create it, as long as there's a grading mechanism, there will be grades. There will be a grading system for the students, and those grades will definitely be added here in the grading center. They must appear here in the grading center. So for example, when we come to create forums, Dr. Khalaf, do you need us to explain the forum and how to create it? Or your question, I mean, if you have another point of view,